Cool, so it's recording. What's up, dude? We're just gonna jump
Dude,
to it. What, you're looking so good. I feel so underdressed right now. I don't feel right.
I didn't know how to dress, man. I'm like, should I dress up? Should I just be kicking back? But
You look fantastic. You even got the
thanks,
little pocket thing in there. Oh,
dude.
buddy.
Dude, you gotta dress how you want to be addressed. You know what I mean?
Ooh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay.
How you been?
Brother, I've been good. Been definitely fighting life, but I've been great, man. I've been
Yeah,
great. It's a
yeah,
winning battle for sure, but God, it's there's something about being in the nitty grittiness of just
for sure.
that grind. And it's poetic, it's romantic, it's beautiful, it's frustrating, it's stressful, it's life, right?
Yep.
And I'm coming to the realization of just how spectacular it is, and falling in love with the bad times on how I think, yeah, just the word is poetic, on just how poetic everything is, the
Yeah,
contrast of it all. So I've been realizing that, which has made life a million times better. So I've been fantastic.
yeah. I love that, man. I mean, because we grew up as kids thinking like, oh my gosh, I want to be an adult so bad. I want to be
Oh my
18. I can't wait to
brother.
move out. And then
Yep.
it happens, and we're like, man, I can't wait to be five again.
Bro, yes, but there's also some love to it, man. Because absolutely, like when
Yeah.
we're younger, we're like, I want to be free. I don't want to listen to anybody. I don't want any responsibilities. I don't want to worry about a single thing. And then once we get older, we realize that one, it's kind of important to do that stuff, and you fall in love. You have to fall in love with that.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't know if I would go back to being a kid, man.
No.
I don't know if I would.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. There's certain, or I wouldn't say certain, but there's a lot of limitations,
Yeah.
that kids have. And when you grow up, I don't think, growing up comes a matter of age, but it comes a matter of maturity. And
Yes.
when you kind of put childish things away and it's like, all right, I got to take ownership and responsibility in my life. You know what I mean?
I don't even think people realize that, depending on the situation, that they even know that they have to put those childish things away. I don't think sometimes people they don't even address that childhood fun and that type
Hmm.
of experience.
Hmm.
I think some people just, like you said, it's a mindset. They just grow up into it because that's how they were raised, and
Yeah.
they had virtues and beliefs instilled into them at a very young age, which I think is awesome. I think you should. I think you should, as soon as you can, you do with your kids.
Right. Yep.
As soon as they
Yep.
can fall down, let them fall down. Like,
Hmm.
I understand as parents, like, we want to pick them up, but let them fall down. But
Yep.
something that's really cool too is I've realized with us as adults, we don't treat ourselves the same way as we treat kids, even though we're still learning every single day.
Yep.
So it's like, you gotta love when you fall down and be like, hey, it's okay, let's go,
Hmm.
keep going. You have
Yeah.
to give the advice. Parents, I've realized, are really good at giving advice that they'll never take themselves, that they give to their kids.
Yep. Oh, 100%. And then that's why I love the saying. It was an old quote I found. It says, exposure leads to expansion. And I feel
Mm,
like you have to be exposed, not just in like terms of business, but in all areas of life. And, I feel like when we're younger, we don't have life experience. And that's the
oh yeah.
one thing we need, and our
Yes.
parents do. But because life only makes sense going forward. But, when we look back on it, we realize
Yeah.
why we went through that experience. But you
I
can
think
only accept it going forward.
that's the big part about it too. Moving forward with those type of mindsets, and you're just like, yeah, you can't go back. You can look back into the moment and say, this is what I learned from that. But I think it's so important to look at the right now with that mindset instead of looking
Yeah.
into the past.
Mhm.
And that's why I say, when you ask me how I'm doing, I'm like, I'm great, because I'm going through one of those moments right now. It's like, it's a rough, rocky patch. Right? Like I said, I'm fighting,
Yeah.
but I know that, oh, this is gonna set me up later on.
Yeah.
And so that there's been this mind shift change, that instead of, oh, it was so good back then, right now sucks. It's right now sucks for something good. Let me get ready for whatever that is.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
stop, plant myself, see what's going on, evaluate what's
Yep.
happening.
That's good.
Where's my goal? Where's my track? Okay, let me start pulling it in. Right. And
Hmm.
and it's as easy as that. As hard as it sounds, it's as easy as saying, I'm gonna stop looking back and I'm gonna switch and say, okay, I understand that that's there. That
Hmm.
review mirror is kicking my ass, but I'm aiming for right there. I'm just gonna focus on that. And
Hmm.
I think that's what so many people lose focus on, or when people are caught doom scrolling for motivation, they're looking for someone not to even tell them what to do, because there's so many people that'll do that. You know, you want to lose weight, hey, go to the gym. I don't want to do that. Let me scroll somewhere else.
Right.
You're always looking for some type of fix. Hey, you got to take a pill. Oh, well, if I have to take a pill to lose weight, I have to go to the doctor. Then I have to do this, and I don't really want to do this. I'll just sit here, somewhere. You know, while I'm scrolling, I'll find a way to lose weight while I'm sitting down.
Yeah,
you know, it's like, you can't. You gotta switch.
Yeah, it's all external. I feel like people are looking for external motivation, but it's gotta be internal inspiration. And I think you gotta find what is linked to your top values in life. You know, so like for me, you know, my top 3 values are faith, family, and freedom. And freedom, and what I mean by that is, you know, the ability to, you know, own my life, the ability to make my own decisions, choices, and you know, and have time freedom. And so I think you got to find whatever, even if it's, you know, even if it's pursuing a career, you got to find what's going to allow you to be linked, you know, a certain job type field that will link you to those top values. And then you won't need external motivation. You'll be inspired. And that's where you won't need, you know, a pump, you know, or like you said, doom scrolling. Yeah. You're already motivated. You're already disciplined to just go after it every day.
See, okay, I'm going to challenge you on that. Because I think that's great how you said, you know, you need to find something that's parallel to pretty much what you're doing, or the closest thing you can get to that parallel, right? Like for an example, just because for me, it's like the film industry. All right, if I'm doing something with my day-to-day work or even my hobbies that align with filmmaking, cool, I'm on track with where I want to go, right? So I can see that. But now let me challenge you in the aspect of when you have somebody who's unintentionally, by default, the jack of all trades, to like not their fault of their own, where they're like, I'm intentionally going to go out and be the jack of all trades, but they're like, they stumbled onto it. They have a little bit of this, they have a little bit of that. They've tried different industries, they've gained different knowledge, and they're like, I like this, I love that, this is fun, I like that. Well, how do they choose then? How do they choose? Because they're so lost.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, for sure. This is just my opinion on it. I believe a jack of all trades is a master of none. Yep. And so, there's an entire book about it. It's called The One Thing by Gary Keller. And he talks about find the one thing in your life that will allow you to accomplish all the other things in your life. And so I feel like if somebody was that, where they were good at a lot of things, I feel like you got to find the thing that makes the most sense in terms of what's my ROI, what's my return on this investment that I put in, whether my time, my energy, my resources. And then what is it going to allow me to build? You know, think about in the next 5-10 years, what is it going to allow me to do? And I think that because it's, you know, I know a couple of my buddies that are really good at sports, but they're, you know, good at, you know, business as well. And so that's totally fine. I think you just got to find what are your strengths, you know, and tap into that, because that's what you're good at. But then also learn how to grow in your weaknesses. Depending on, you know, what it is, what industries, or, you know, even skills, you know, learning a new language. It could be like, for me, I really want to learn Spanish before I die. Because a lot of people think, just kind of first impression, they think I speak Spanish. Yeah. And so, like, you know, I'll tell them a little bit, like, you know, poquito, you know, and, but I can't carry a full conversation, but that's an area that I want to make my strength. So, cause I know it can open up so many opportunities and doors, you know, in the future.
You going with Duolingo on that?
I have, dude. I actually was at like 170-day streak one time.
Ooh,
and I don't know, with Duolingo, it was like a love-hate relationship, because anytime you would like miss a day, they would send you these notifications.
You're
almost like
shit.
Yeah, like guilt tripping you.
Yes, brother.
I'm trying to win here, you know, and you're over here.
I know. When you're winning, you're winning. But when you hop off that platform for that loose streak, it's like, hey, you piece of shit, you got to get back on this. Spanish ain't gonna learn itself. Let's go, brother. Yes,
you can continue the streak or not. I don't care. Like,
it's up to you. No say, mijo. It's like, wait a second.
So I might hop back on it, but I know there's other ways to learn. But I also have heard too, like, the best way you're going to learn, like, let's say a new language or new culture, is to live in it. You know, and just, you know, go experience life, and you'll pick really quick.
I think if you go to like certain avenues and streets in Arizona, you'll pretty much be in Little Mexico, where you can experience that. You know what I mean?
I was talking about moving to like a different country, but
yeah, I know, but I'm like, if you can't move to a different country, because I've thought about that too. I was like, if I'm gonna learn some languages, I want to learn Spanish and Italian. I don't know which order, but I've come to the understanding that if you learn either one of those, the other one just becomes a little bit more easier. One, because you've learned a language, but two, there's different pretenses and all these other things that it's like you're already familiar with, right? So it's just like the repetition thing. So I know if whichever one I decide, I want to go there. And then it got me thinking, because I'm a very big imaginative person. I was like, all right, well, if I want to learn this language, I want to go live there. I was like, I would love for my family to live in Italy for like 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
That would be cool, you know, because I was listening to this song by John Bellion. He just dropped an album on my birthday earlier this month.
Sick.
And one of the previous guys I had on the show, his name's Cody Sia. We both have a mutual interest in that artist. And one of the songs on his album is called Italian Breeze, you know, and it's a really beautiful heritage song. You know, of his grandfather, just like he was in the Italian breeze. Whenever you're feeling stressed, just go feel the Italian breeze. Go back to your homeland, relax. You know what I mean? So I was listening to that while thinking about Spanish or Italian, and I was like, oh yeah, the Italian breeze with the family. You know, having my kids. Ciao bella. You know what I mean? I was like, I could get behind that. Live that lifestyle for 2 to 3 years. Like, let's go. That's beautiful to me. Comes with freedom.
No, I can picture that, especially that name of that song, The Italian Breeze.
Yeah. Something about it. Just give me some wine and cheese right now. Me the other night with some mozzarella.
Man. Yeah, that's so cool, man. I've Italy's always been on my bucket list for sure. I mean, it's because a lot of people, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, to go, which is pretty crazy to think, that all it takes is a decision. If you want something bad enough, you're willing to, put more money away every year. And just pull that trigger, make that decision to just say, you know what, I'm just going to go travel for a month and live, in that culture. It makes us so grateful for what we have here. But I think that's what people gain is experiences and memories. And that's why I'm such a big believer, in having control of your time, and living life to the max. 100%.
Beautiful. I agree with that, man. What are you doing these days to live your life to the max while being safe?
While being safe, man.
Especially in this day and age, man. It's crazy out there.
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, taking care of my health. I was at the gym this morning, and I feel like society kind of promotes it in a certain way of like, hey, we gotta because we work to make a living, and making money all day long, but health is wealth at the end of the day. And I really believe that let's say you are a millionaire, but if you're not where you want to be health wise, the money's not going to last forever, and so I've realized that this year, especially because like I've been running a lot more, which I'm naturally not a fan of running, running miles, but I've learned to get over that feeling and emotion.
Beautiful.
and I love it, man. And going outside more versus just like the treadmill. And I think focusing just on health overall, especially eating. I mean, 80% of your diet is in the kitchen. Focus on what you put in your body. I think that right now, what we do in our 20s and 30s is going to set us up for our 40s and 50s.
Yes, I completely agree. So I just picked up this new job, corporate, downtown Phoenix, right? Pretty cool. 18th story, get a whole view, windows all around, right? Beautiful.
Sick.
And I'm looking around, and I don't mean this in any disrespect, but the people who have been there for quite a while, they seem a little bit on the unhealthy side. And I'm like, okay, first of all, I know I don't want to be in a corporate setting, right? It's just right now. It's one of those things. Where am I looking to? Let me get there, right?
Yep.
But I see where I'm at right now, and I'm like, just in case, right? Because life just has a way of doing life. Maybe I'm the statistic that went for it and didn't happen, right? I have to be a realist that way. If I'm here for the long haul, I'm going to make sure that I still go down swinging.
Yep.
And what I mean by that is taking care of myself and making the most out of my situation, despite what it is, because it's also a mindset thing of just enjoying the hand that you're dealt. Even if you don't agree with it, you're on this path for some type of reason that you may not even know till you're 50 or 60. And then you change somebody's life who's not even born yet, right? So I'm a big believer in that. Like, maybe I'm just a pawn. There's a bigger game going on. Let me roll with it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, if this is where I'm at, I'm going to go down swinging. So I'm on the 18th floor. It's my first week there. I have gone up and down those flights of stairs at least once a day. Yesterday, since I knew it was Friday, I went 3 times up, 3 times down. You know what I mean? Like I'm really trying to stay fit and active. I'm
Right.
walking all the time because health is wealth. Like I completely agree with you, brother. Like I've known, and I think me and you, we're so in tune with this whenever we have discussions. It's like what we do now sets us up for later.
Yep.
You know, it's not you setting it up to somebody else for the alley-oop for the game-winning shot. It's you putting in the reps. So when it's time, you're alley-ooping to yourself to make the slam dunk for your life because nobody else is going to do it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Your
100%.
brother, your sister, they could assist you, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to be the one that makes the calls for your life.
And
Make
I knew
those
that.
decisions.
I knew that right out of high school. Because that's when I changed my association, probably around like the end of 2015, 2016. I just got around some, very, very successful entrepreneurs here in the Valley, but it wasn't just about business. It was about, okay, what are we building? It was about like, okay, where do you want to be in the next 5-10 years? Not just 2 weeks. And I feel like society programs us to think, especially growing up, okay, I think paycheck to paycheck, think, where we want to be by Friday. What are you doing this weekend? Not
happy hour.
And it's like I didn't want to be happy for just an hour, right? But it's like where you want to be in the next decade. And I think if people play in decades, they'll set themselves up. And it's not going to be fun right now. I mean, but we have the most energy, the most youth, the most time right now, because as we get older, it's I wouldn't say it's downhill, but it's your body starts to naturally decline.
Right.
And so that's why I love the saying is an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure.
Ooh.
And so if we can prevent things from happening, whether it's, your health or whether it's, financial distress, any that now that will set up your entire life, and then you can create that legacy, pass down to kids or keep it,
It's definitely, I feel like we both started fairly early on. I know there's a couple of people. I stayed away from, I've switched up. Let me say this, right? Because I think the last time we were talking, I was like doing a million different things.
It was in January this year, I think. Yeah.
And I have like a million things that I'm doing all the time because I feel like I'm the jack of all trades. Like I know what I love to do, but I'm always interested in what else.
Right.
And I think that's why, on a little sidetrack, why I was so attracted to being an actor when I was really heavily into the film, because I got to be this person that week, and then another person this week, and then I could audition for this crazy role, and then you get some of those, and you're like, great, now I get to have fun with this, but it's very stressful because you lose yourself and the foundation of who you think you are in that. And during that time of my life, I didn't know if I wanted to stick with filming. So I tried different avenues just to be sure. Because my biggest thing is I don't want to live a life of regret.
Yeah.
Right. It's never been about the money for me. It's been about the experience, the impact, and just not living a life of regret.
Yeah.
So, and I got a little delusional in my head, and I was chasing the dollar sign, and I found myself going down unhappy roads that were stressing me out, and I couldn't figure out why. Because I thought I was going for what I really wanted to achieve. And this is, where I think journaling is so important, is that I've been journaling off and on for years. Yeah. And I vowed to myself that I would never reread a journal until like I'm dead, right before I die, or just like if I'm lost. So I was like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I was beating myself up going through it. And I was like, I think this is one of those times. Let me go talk to old Gino real quick.
Yeah.
And so I did. And let me tell you, that motherfucker wrote down some good shit to get me back on track. You know what I mean? It's just
That's
like,
so
hey,
good. Yeah.
In 5 years, I want to be successful. I want to do this, 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 and this. And I was like, oh shit, I accomplished this, and this. Like I realized I was successful with everything that I wanted to do within 5 years. And I was like, oh, I'm not fucking up. I'm not failing.
Yeah.
I'm actually killing it. I'm doing way better. I did this and more. I did this, and that's insane. And so like I started journaling again and documenting that process and refining it, so when I get lost again, I can even go back and have a stronger foundation. And it's rooting for yourself. That's what I meant by those layups, right? Like it's so important to know yourself in the aspect of, I know that life has its turbulences. Or Matthew McConaughey, I think we've mentioned this too, one of the last times we were talking in January about his book Green Lights. He has a great saying in there, like once you know more of your yellow and red lights, then you can have more green lights. So I think there's a huge foundational piece for any young kids that are listening to this, like who want to have a head start getting out of high school. You have to know yourself in that aspect before you can go out. because if you're going out and you're building yourself up without a strong foundation of you and who you are, what's going to knock you over, what's going to make you stand tall when there's a tornado outside, how do you feel under pressure, like true pressure, where it's not you put expectations on yourself, but you have other people's expectations, money and time placed on yourself. That's responsibility. Like, how do you manage that? Right? Like, you have to know the ins and outs, because if you build yourself upon this false pretense, which you could do these days because there's personalities online, that once you're really tested, people are going to be able to see through you, right? Where you thought you placed a brick of foundation is actually just, wet sand.
Yeah.
It's going to crumble and fall, right?
Yeah.
So knowing these things on it's getting scary. What are my values? We call it scope creep too in project management. It's like, we know what we want, but then once you start going down the path, you're like, oh, what else can I do? What else can I do? And that's where the dangerous part is in that variable of what else.
Yeah.
And that's where you got to bring yourself back in and just really focus on, what am I accomplishing? What are my core values, right? What are my beliefs to hit that goal, right? And how have you dealt with, I know I went on a strange long tangent there, but keeping that focus from out of high school, when did you get your beliefs and how did you keep yourself on track throughout all these years? Because you've done well, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, it's just obviously it's I think for me, for faith, believing. I think and what I mean by faith is, part of it, I believe you have to believe that you will be successful. You will have a great life. Which stems from your attitude. You have to have a great attitude. I think that's one thing that I'm really good at, is I'm really optimistic regardless of a bad time. Like, if you get a flat tire, oh my gosh, we got a flat tire. Well, hey, at least we're okay. And you just find the positive in every single situation, which, stems from having the right mentality, right mindset. And I think for me, since high school, is because after high school and college too, everybody goes their own separate way.
100%.
And no one's on the same time frame, and that's where it's harder to schedule things. But I think for me and it reminds me of this book I'm so big on, and I'll share with you. It's called The Gap and the Gain, and it's by Dan Sullivan. And the whole book is about staying in the gain, but most people fall in the gap, because when they look at, okay, here's where we are and here's our goal, whatever the goal is, right? And people look at as far as how much they have to go, which is living in the gap. Like, oh my gosh, I'm not where I want to be. Like, I still have XYZ to go. But but the book talks about living in the gain, and look this way and be like, but look at how far you came. Look at where you were to where you are now, and that's living in the gain. And so you look at every experience in life. It's like, okay, how did this make me better? How do I become a better person because of this? Failures, wins, losses, relationships, people in your life, people not in your life anymore. And that's living in the game, versus the gap is almost like a fixed mindset, thinking of like, oh my gosh, I still have 24 months, or man, I'm not a millionaire yet, or I don't have six-pack abs yet. But okay, but look, you're eating healthy, you're dropped 10 pounds, look at how much you've gained. Right. And so I think for me, since high school, I've just always looked at the gains as far, and also too, is my vision for my life, and my dream is I knew right from the get-go, right out of high school, because that's when I also traveled to Europe. I went backpacking for 2 weeks with the high school first, with some other classmates there.
Okay.
And when I went on that trip, man, it opened my eyes to like a whole new world. And this is prior to business. And I saw, man, there's a whole new world outside of just, Arizona, let alone the United States, that you could live. And and I got exposed. To what everything else in life. And so from the get-go, it made me want to pursue a better life, regardless of what anybody thought, regardless of the critics, the haters. I mean, you're going to have haters when you build anything great, worth, anything, any legend, any, superhero, or anybody that we idol, has always gone against the grain. That's what makes them great, And so I realized that right from the get-go, you got to be willing to pay the success tax. You got to be willing to put in the time now, and I'd rather do it now versus later. And that's what's always kept me going.
Let me ask you, with your businesses that you had, businesses, right? It's not just the one business. You have
It's one, but
Okay.
I'm starting to branch into other things. Just like you said, it's it's finding that okay, where do we want to get into next? You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. Okay. With that, how do you feel AI is? And I think this is a crazy topic right now because the more that I look into it, the more that I'm in love with it, and the more that I'm fucking terrified of it at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thoughts on it, brother?
I love AI. I mean, I haven't found, anything yet as far as like a business to tap into it.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's millions of business out there. But when it comes to like ChatGPT, I use ChatGPT more than Google.
Yeah.
And because it gives you accurate information, it gives you a plan. I've used ChatGPT for dieting. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
design me a diet that's high protein, low carb. Within 5 seconds, here you go. You
With
know,
recipes, with
yes,
cheap recipes that you can get from Aldi's. Oh my
yes,
gosh. Break it down Monday through Friday.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Workout plans, itinerary schedules. I mean,
Seconds. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and so and then you can tailor it towards your industry, whether it's like let's say real estate. Okay, how can I become one of the top 1% real estate investors or marketers in the next 5 years, and it'll
Yeah.
literally map out what you should do. And I love it. I think now here's what I will tell you with AI is that next 5-10 years, I think a lot of jobs are going to go obsolete. I really, really
Yep.
believe that. I mean, we're seeing it. You see it everywhere you go. You got Waymos on the road are going to replace Uber drivers. When you got. I know there's been like television news broadcasters that have done a little bit AI right there.
Dude,
You,
in addition to that, the scammers are even going to be out of a job. Like
yeah.
I'm getting scam calls that are AI.
Oh,
So
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
crazy. And like you can kind of tell. But if I was like 70 years old, we're cooked. They're cooked. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like they're getting scammed for sure, especially now
Yeah.
that they can like if they know your grandson, you know what I mean? And they call him up, take a couple words, run that through an AI. Hey, Granny, I need $500, please. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? She's
Yeah.
gonna send that money to little Timmy. Like the scammers are out of a job too, brother. It's
Yeah.
horrible. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
people use AI for their phone screening. So when you dial
Yeah.
somebody's number right away, hi, I'm a Google virtual assistant. How can I help you?
Yep. Run into
Yeah.
tons of those, man. It's horrible. It's scary. And I agree with you that in 5 to 10 years, most jobs are going to be gone. Call centers can be gone. Now, with all of that being said, I also think that authenticity, if
Yep.
you invest back into the humans themselves, if you invest into yourself as the main line of defense for everything, because people aren't going to always want to talk to an AI. Let me talk to an
Hmm.
actual person. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Let me talk to someone who understands 100% what I'm going through with the
Yep.
empathy and not just,
Yep.
please press one. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Well, all that shit. Like it's going to be very terrifying. I'm I don't know how to feel about it, brother. I really
Yeah.
don't. And
Well,
there's
the AI won't replace the relationship connection. Like we're having on this podcast, and
yeah,
that's why I think people will crave more and more and more. I mean, because think about it, when you order something on Amazon, it just gets shipped straight to your door. There's no like
yeah.
personal connection. And I
Oh
feel
yeah.
like as we start to lean more towards AI, we'll be more efficient, but I don't think you'll be more effective when it comes to relationship building and networking.
That's one of the reasons why I'm gonna be honest, like got turned off from the real estate industry as well. Because
Mm,
everywhere I was going, it was, ugh, this is what I got from the feeling that I got. It was, ugh, I'm so happy I don't have to dial the phones anymore. I'm so happy I don't have to remember your birthday. I'm so happy I don't have to actually build a strong connection. I'm so
mhm.
happy that I don't have to waste my time with you. Is
Yeah.
basically what I was getting. Instead, it was I'm gonna put all of your information into my AI, and my AI is just gonna gently remind me. And I don't. To me, I understand it's a tool to help you, but I also feel like that takes away the true personal connection, right?
Yep.
It's like you only remembered my birthday, and I thought we were homies because you actually remembered and gave a shit. But in reality, you're just trying to,
Yeah.
get my interest rate. You're just trying to sell my house. Like you can see through that shit. So for one, I think people who are just, and I mean this with true personality and shit behind it. If you are just a real estate agent, you're fucked. You're gone.
Hmm.
Like you
Yeah.
are not going to last. in my opinion, you need to find a hobby, find something that's completely different from real estate. Let's say that's boxing, right?
Mhm.
Dive 100% into boxing, and then formulate your content and throw in some real estate stuff in addition to. Don't
Yep.
have it be real estate and then boxing. You need to have real estate be your second or third thing, and you need to triple down on content on like other things. Because if you're coming in and you're just like, hey, look, I'm a real estate agent, but I'm gonna have AI do everything.
Yeah.
You're like I can understand it if you want to grind out your life and just do that. I don't
Mhm.
see a life worth living like that. So I was like, let me step away. Let me figure out how this whole entire AI and real estate thing is going to level out, because I've even seen new programs being developed that completely take away the real estate agent entirely.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, let me see how this works out. Let me not dive into real estate. Let me just learn, but not be on the front lines, because this is going to be something that's going to shake up everything. And until we kind of see where the shakeup's going, and then we can kind of predict a little bit more, then we'll dive back in. But it's one of those things that, like I was saying, it's terrifying.
Mhm.
It's so scary, man. Like,
Yeah.
you
Well,
think
'cause
your
I
job is safe, but it's not.
people, that's the problem, and it is a lot of people think that, because we're programmed to think that we'll have job security forever, but then you see, as the world's evolving, our
Mhm.
job income is not. Our jobs stay the same. It's almost, they call it stagflation, where where the cost of living keeps going up,
Mhm.
right, and the economy is going down, but our jobs stay the same. And so, and with AI, it's gonna 10x it, because again, people are gonna be replaced like this. I mean, I've even heard stories and saw stories about, potentially replacing doctors. But
Yes.
I think the human, like, you go to a doctor visit, you're not gonna want an AI or a robot working on you. You're gonna want an actual person, you
Maybe.
can talk to. Who knows, right? But at least for me, I would love, now here's the thing though, is like with AI and robots, you don't have to pay them. That's where companies would be like, oh yeah, robots more cheaper versus paying somebody, 100 grand a year.
Mhm.
Just, that's a cost for our company versus a benefit. And so, yeah, I'm very curious to see how the world plays out in the next. I would say 5 years for sure,
I can
for
even
sure.
see that AI is going to be implemented into your car now, to where AI from front to bumper, right? Bumper to bumper,
Yeah.
hood to the bottom tire, right? It's going to be even more in depth, to the point where there's going to be a little plug-in or Bluetooth connection that you're like, my car is doing something weird, and your phone's going to 100% tell you what's wrong with it and how much it is going to be to replace it when the availability is at the next AI mechanic shop. And all you have to do is just schedule the appointment. And
Yeah.
like Tesla cars, they could just, all right, drops you off at work. Your car's going to go drive itself to the AI mechanic shop, get itself fixed up, automatically bill you, drive itself back,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
have the AC on in time for when you're done with work. I can
Right.
see AI automation even taking away a mechanic's job. Like, you think you're safe that way? Sorry, buddy. I don't believe so.
Mhm. Right.
Because all that's going to have to happen again is just Bluetooth connection. The hood automatically opens up because it's all talking to each other. They have a camera that sees, they get little
Yep.
robot arms. Like, robot arms are already building machines.
Yeah.
Machines are already building machines. You bring
Yep.
that into a mechanic shop
Yep.
at a lower cost that's effective. Like, let's say the whole shop costs like 500 to like
Mhm.
2 million, 500,000 to 2 million. You do some cheap shit like that, you're gonna have
Yeah.
AI franchises, brother.
Yep. You've
That's
already
the
seen it
thing.
with warehouses and their production lines. It's
Yeah,
already there because they can get more done per minute than an average person moving stuff.
there's
You
something you said
know.
earlier too about Amazon, and I was on Reddit scrolling earlier today, and first of all, it was a drone in Gaza blowing up. Right, I was like, holy shit, it flies inside this window, and then you just see like half the top of the building, just like,
Oh
I was
wow.
like, fuck, right? And somebody's like, I can't wait till we have like drones that are more advanced in the States. And I was like, I was driving yesterday on the I-10, and I see a billboard from Amazon that says, don't worry, it's just us. And it has a drone with a package. And I was like, oh shit, we're gonna get, and I saw a video of this, and I don't know if it was AI, but I think this makes it more concrete that it's real now that I saw a billboard in real life. Amazon has a blimp, and on that blimp is all the packages, and you just see the drones flying in and out, delivering packages with the drones now. So I think we're going to start seeing that happening a lot more, and it's just going to pop it on your doorstep. Like that's crazy to me.
It's wild.
That's right now. It's just not everywhere yet, but there's so many different pieces of technology that are like popping up all over the place. You can't keep up with it. Silicon Valley is now the whole world. Everything is just popping up. It's again, it's beautiful. There's a lot of great implications for it, but on the adverse side, there's so much wrong with it that you're not going to be able to regulate this. You're not going to be able to contain this, that this is just going to be what it is. And you can't stop somebody from copywriting your face and making AI videos about you. You can't stop that. You can't fight that, because guess what? You're going to go through let's just say it costs you $25,000 lawsuit because of lawyer fees and all that stuff to get these videos down. You know what they have to do? Just go to a different IP, create 6 different accounts, upload different videos because of AI and everything. Like copyright is going to be gone. You giving a shit about what people use your content for is going to be gone. You saying things that you never said is going to happen a lot more. The whole law system, every type of functionality of the way we live right now is going to go in for a cold plunge shock. And here's what's going to happen, in my belief, because you said this a little bit earlier too, and I'm glad I'm putting this thought together and I remembered it, is that cost of living goes up. People are still kind of making the same shit, or people are like not making enough. I think that there's a pure evolution that's happening right now in front of us, where it's like in order to survive, you have to adapt. If you are not adapting to the technology, if you are not adapting to AI and using it to your advantage, meaning making money off of it as a hobby and being a part of the change now, you're going to be screwed. You're going to be those people who, when Rome was being built, you're going to be begging because you didn't want to be a part of it. Now you're just like, shit, how do I survive? And you're going to be going for the scraps while you're like, how is it other people are making so much money? First, I realized we are probably that last generation from AI, not having AI and being so involved in technology. To just consumed by it. And I think people just need to realize AI is going to stay. It's going to get worse. And if it doesn't, the world's going to end either way. Like, you have to adapt to it. And I think it's a lot easier to use AI to make money than people realize. Like I think I've created, like I have a pretty good idea on how to like just infinite money glitch.
Yeah.
You want to hear it?
Yeah, let's do it.
This is my crazy infinite money glitch, all using AI. And if you have coding experience, it makes it even better. I don't, so I haven't made it yet. You have a mega program that all it does is create emails. From those emails, it creates TikTok, YouTube like accounts, like social media accounts. And then you have this other one that just creates, it looks at the top trending analytics across all those social platforms on what is trending. Okay. Takes that content, puts it into a script, makes it funny, comedic, like however the transformation is, right? In order to gain retention off of what's being popular, reanalyzes it all through AI, redistributes all of those to those hashtags, those type of videos, and just pumps that out on all of those different accounts. Now, when one of those videos hits, it starts analyzing its own data, right? So it's basically an infinite money glitch, because then what's going to happen is you're going to have these AI accounts that are going to get these views. They're going to be pushing out this AI generated content that people are going to be eating up for days. You can turn anything into an AI, and people are going to watch two rocks. People would watch two rocks sitting down with a frog popping up talking, because I've never seen a rock talk before. That's attention that you now have that you can monetize across however many different platforms, and then have it just funnel to different accounts. Take that money, reinvest it back into the business, or then get into the real estate.
So good.
Physical stuff, like that's an infinite money glitch that can run 24/7 from your home if you have some knowledge and maybe a server if you really want to build it up. But that's an infinite money glitch that's running all the time.
Yeah, that's because now your money's making you money, and I think it's a matter of understanding, because you talked about adaptability. It's understanding the world we live in today. We live in a platform revolution versus before we were in an industrial age revolution, right? So people work for factories, people work for corporate America. Now everybody in today's world is creating content. TikTok, YouTube, doesn't matter what it is, right? Podcast, right? Like we're on. And so I think if you, like you said, if you don't adapt, in the world of AI and platforms, you're going to get lapped. You're going to get left behind. And I look at like this big wave that's coming. Truthfully, it's already came, but you can either learn to ride the wave or get crushed by the wave. And because it's like, with people living in the social media world and digital age, and boomers, a lot of older people don't have social media. They don't want to work from their phone. You know what I mean? But it's just adaptability, and I think that's with anything in society. When you work for a company, they implement new rules and policies. You got to adapt, right? The AI is the AI with the money glitch is sick. That's an incredible idea.
I mean, people have been doing that for a long time, right? Like faceless YouTube channels, right? Like Fireplace. People have been doing that for a long time.
Yeah.
So now it's just taking a process that a human can do and doing it yourself now that you have the tools. Like, that's wild. There's this other crazy idea that I wanted to bring up, and this is where one of my existential crises are coming from. It's this idea of technology itself, right? Like seeing where we're going. And I'm watching this podcast right now, A Diary of a CEO, which I think you've mentioned to me. Did we ever talk about this podcast?
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, I tried to remember this podcast specifically because back when we were talking in January at Zips at the bar, I think I was talking about the Netflix or CEO or somebody. I was going to send you a video. I forgot to, but I remember now. But I was watching the same podcast, funny enough, this morning, and the guy who he has on is known as the godfather of AI. And he's been working on AI, a bunch of people have, for over 50 years. 60 years, which first of all is crazy because we've only found out about it within like the 5-10 years, or at least to the known public. So whatever the government has, they are ahead of us for sure. We're getting version 1 of this stuff.
Yeah.
But what's terrifying is that the way that they're talking, he is specifically talking about technology. I don't remember his name. He's an English fellow on there. He's changing my perspective of the internet and of TV shows and of AI in a very cautious way. Not so much negative, but it has a negative annotation to my caution. Basically meaning that we've been pretty much manipulated, because if you think about the mindset like this, when you're watching a show on, let's just say, regular TV, right? There's commercials.
Yeah.
You're not watching the show. You think you're watching the show, but you're watching the commercials, and the show itself is the vehicle that keeps you sitting down in order for the next commercial break so they can throw some more ads on in front of you, right? Like with marketing 101. But when you come to the realization that that's the intent of what they've been doing, right? And then on the phone too, you're so socially disconnected and only seeing, because as Gary Vaynerchuk talks about it now, it's all about an interest graph. It's not social, it's an interest graph. So when you only get what's interesting to you, you put yourself in a very limited bubble, because then we're not going to have an experience that's shared anymore. We may see the same video, but we're not going to be able to have that interpersonal connection. We're not going to be able to have good social skills, because you're not really going to be able to what did you say?
Exposure leads to expansion.
You're not going to have new exposure.
Right. You're
not going to have that exposure to expansion to learn how to socialize better with you and I. We can have a conversation, but we're not going to have, I want to say, more in-depth, more personal connection, because we're social media has divided us so greatly and so deeply. TV, I mean, kids are getting tablets. I mean, I'm guilty to this. You know, my 1-year-old, she loves Miss Rachel, but in reality, she's addicted to the TV now. Right. So it's like, oh shit, this is a very scary thing. Do I take her away from it? Do I embrace it? She's learning from it too. Like, how do you balance this? And it's like, there's no way. There's no way that you can. But it's a terrifying thing to see. Again, it's a very terrifying thing to see that the perspective of the manipulation of the desocialization of everybody is so high that it worries me, because I like being social, which is why I started the podcast. Right? I don't want to lose this. I don't even like doing it virtual. I wanted to be able to do it in person, but I'm doing it virtual just it's easier right now, right?
Yeah.
Where life is at. Roll with the
Yeah.
cards that you have.
Right.
But I don't want to lose human connection.
Hmm.
And I think that's so important.
That's why I believe you have to be a natural contrarian in
Ooh.
today's society. You have to be willing to go against the grain because
Mm.
I mean, you look at it. You just go to a restaurant and you look around. You see other people on their phones waiting for their food,
Mm-hmm.
and we've lost that human touch. And so that's why if you can be the leader and the one who's willing to go against the grain and still keep that human touch, I mean, you will outwork, out hustle, outperform everybody because everybody's going to eventually crave it at a certain point. Like, you know
Mm-hmm.
what? I get it. We have access to AI. We have access to everything so fast. You know, your computer's on your phone, but I just want to have a genuine conversation.
Yeah. You can
And I
feel
feel
when
like,
you've been
yeah,
on it. You can feel when you've
yep,
been on the technology too much. You feel everybody feels different.
hmm,
And even if you're not an outdoors person, if you go outside and you look at the stars, some people, yeah, it's stars. But if you give it
no,
5 minutes, you'll
yeah,
feel something. Sit in silence and just stare. It's a human reaction to be outside, to breathe fresh air, to have the sun hit you, and not stay indoors in beautiful AC and stay cool. Like you have to physically
oh yeah.
do
You know what?
something.
You know what it reminds me of is
Huh.
my mentor. He actually told me about this book he read recently, and he talked about how the world, everybody right now,
Mhm.
is just too comfortable.
Yes.
And there's this book called The Comfort Crisis. And he said he was because we were grabbing lunch at a restaurant one time. He's like, think about it, Ryan. He's like, we have AC in this restaurant. You have access
Mhm.
to sports events. You know, people can just watch it. You think about you got ice in your glass of water. You
Mhm.
know, food's all prepared for you. All these ingredients, stuff like this. He's like, back in the day, you'd have to hunt to go get food, and it was like otherwise you didn't eat.
Yeah.
And so he was talking about how everybody in the world today, with the power of an access of technology as it keeps going up and up and up, everybody's gotten weaker and more comfortable. And I didn't realize it at first, but it is clear as day
Yeah.
is that I think, if you want to separate yourself in the world today, it's not doing more like this huge gap of creating your wealth and success. It's just doing above average
Mhm.
because a lot of people aren't willing to put in the work, and a lot of people are comfortable, in my opinion.
I agree. I'm victim to that. That's the
Yeah,
reason
so am
why
I.
that's the exact reason I was like, okay, I'm in corporate. I'm on 18 flights of stairs. Monday, I didn't do it. Tuesday, I was like, it's hard. The reason why I don't want to do it
Yeah,
is because it's hard. Fuck that. I'm going up and down. And I made it to floor 4 and I was out of breath. By
yeah,
Friday, I can make it to floor 6 and I was like feeling it, you know? So I'm like already seeing improvements, but it's like, I
yep,
understand that. And to segue this into something else for young men, especially for us, it's like you have to take that hard road,
mhm,
especially in comfort, because yes, it's beautiful to be comfort. Enjoy your comfort, but you still need to have, and one of my favorite sayings is you need to be a warrior in a garden, not a farmer on a war field or a battlefield. Right?
mhm,
Like you need to still be able to be a hard motherfucker because life
yeah,
is still going to be fucking hard. Even though you got your AC and you got your water, when you get into your car and you're driving down the street, that flat tire hits,
yep.
life is gonna fucking hit. What are you gonna do? Bitch and complain? Or you're gonna have to get your
Are you
hands dirty.
prepared? Yeah,
Exactly. And I saw this TikTok of this guy. He had 3 flat tires in one day. Old
mhm,
guy. And he stayed positive, kept going. He was like, I made it home, drank a beer. You know what I mean? But you're gonna have those times in those days. And as a man, if you grow up in comfort, in my opinion, I'm gonna classify you as a young man. Because as a man, you have to put yourself in those situations to test you, to build your foundation, to know who you are, so that when whatever it is happens, you can still stand firm,
yep.
right? And I think that's so crucial, man. I think it's so crucial to enjoy the comfort but still go hard. Do that thing you don't
Yeah.
want to do. Clean up
Do
after
hard
yourself.
things.
Yes.
Yeah. A great example would be like, if you're going grocery shopping at the grocery store, do you put your cart back in the cart, thing,
Yeah.
or do you just leave it? You know what I mean? That's an
Yeah.
example, right? And it's willing to do hard things. You mentioned, 18 flights of stairs. Like a majority of people just take the escalator, right? And they just take, or they take the elevator. I mean,
Hmm.
and that's what I'm talking about is comfort. You realize that okay, there are times where I may need to take the elevator, right?
Yeah.
but it's like be willing to go against the grain and just not fit in. I think that's my biggest message is
Yeah.
be someone who's not willing to fit in, because everybody who's ever made it in life and who's done, has succeeded in their industry has been willing to stand out.
Yeah.
And you can't, what's the saying is you can't create outstanding results if you're not willing to stand out.
It's very true.
Because no one ever became successful fitting in, right? And in athletes, in business, whatever it is. And so I think you just got to find your niche and realizing that we do hard things and just own it. Like another great example could be on like a flight. Maybe your flight got delayed. Well, find a way. Be a solution seeker. Don't be a wounded avoider. And that's my biggest tip right there, is because that's what we talked about. You got to play the cards you're dealt with. Okay. It's like, all right, you did get those 3 flat tires. Okay. How are we going to find a way around this? And, I've always learned about making decisions in life is you don't want to ask the question is, can I make it happen, or can I do this? It's how can I? And you find a way to make it happen. Right.
Yeah.
So
determination, discipline. I mean, those virtues that I think young men don't have or are being taught because of comfortability, because it's out of sight, out of mind.
Oh yeah.
It really is. And because of that, especially we'll call it, the baby boy dilemma where most kids are growing up without a father, right? So it's like you have young men, like for example, again, myself, and I know many of others out there who didn't grow up with one. Exactly. And it's like you have a choice that you don't even realize, that you can learn the virtues that you need to, the beliefs, the morals on how to, and by no fault of their own, because they don't know, they don't have that resource, go through life and make it 10 times harder. And when there's no direction, when there's no sense of hope for young men, they build themselves on that faulty foundation where they think it's those cinder blocks, but it's just wet sand. And I'm saying that from experience, right? And that's inspired me to put my thoughts together and, all right, what are like 10 strong foundations that a young man needs? I call him a boy at first. It's a little book that I'm writing. It's, less than 20 pages. It's called Kill the Boy. Right. Okay. And I'm already having like series plans. So it's like kill the boy and then like bring the boy back. Right. That's going to be book 2. But the very first thing is like, if you're struggling with things, you have to kill the voice of the boy inside you. It's not physically killing a boy. It's not wiping them out, but it's killing the influence that the young man, the boy in you has.
It's the burden.
And going with that harder decision because it's going to be the right decision. It's going to be the better decision that has a better outcome. Like that's the man. That's the discipline. It's a choice. It goes back from earlier. Like you have to stop and go. And I think one of those biggest things is the mindset that I really try to tackle in the book, because it's huge. It's not, you don't need motivation. Motivation is not what you need. People think I'll wait till I'm motivated to get it done and then I'll be better. It's a choice.
Yep. You don't feel your way into acting. You act your way into feeling.
Oh, yes.
Right. Because there's been plenty of times where we like don't feel like going to the gym, right? But you still go and you feel great after.
Great.
Right. So you can't let your emotions dictate your decisions in life. Absolutely agree.
Yeah. Emotions are probably one of the trickiest things.
Oh yeah. That's why I'm so big on and this is one thing I've learned, looking back on my journey, is I've learned how to develop a great EQ and not an IQ. So EQ is your emotional quotient, right? IQ is saying, okay, are you good at math? Are you good at, these certain skills? But your emotions with how you respond when things happen.
Huge.
Right. And it's so important, especially as a man, as a guy, you cannot be emotionally inconsistent. So it's almost like an emotional roller coaster. One day you're great, you're excited, you're pumped. Next day you're depressed, and it's like this emotional roller coaster. And that's one roller coaster I don't want to ride. Right. It's where you don't know what to expect from this person.
That's me.
And so it's all about being emotionally consistent.
Yes.
Right. Staying calm regardless of what happens, because it's like, okay, did it really ruin your day? Did it ruin just 5 minutes out of your day?
That's the mindset that I've married to. And I make that choice to marry that because I have like a huge problem of my emotions being so inconsistent, which I think leads to me being a jack of all trades, which leads to me trying multiple different things. But it also has so many benefits: socialization, meeting new people, experiencing expansion, right? Like all of those things. But then it's like, well, I'm not 100% good at this. I wasted my time on that. I realized I didn't like it, but I just stayed for that. Like there's so many pros and cons to it.
Yeah.
And yeah, dude, it's
well, the way I kind of look at it is like you can either be bigger, like the bigger the person, the smaller the problem. The bigger the problem, the smaller the person. And so I just think we have to learn as guys. So like you got to be bigger than your problems and realizing that, like I said, it's not going to ruin your entire day.
Yeah.
Right. Like let's say you get a flat tire. That's okay that happened to you, but it's like, all right, at least you didn't get into a car accident. Right. And so and you're bigger than the tires, going flat. So let's find a solution to fix it. And so that means you didn't let that problem affect you mentally, emotionally, or physically. Right. Let's say, I don't know. Another example could be like I said earlier, you missed a flight.
Yeah.
Right. That's okay that happened. And then I think it's all mental too. You just gotta say, okay, this is what it looks like, to build a business, or this is what it looks like to be part of my journey. And then you don't accept it as like, why is this happening to me? Right. That you realize this is happening for you. And it's just part of your story. It's part of your testimony, and because I believe we all have one story to tell.
Yes.
And so that's why I don't want to tell the story of like, oh, these things happened to me, that's why I'm not successful, or that's why I'm a wounded avoider, because I let them be bigger than who I am. No, I said, no, because these things happened to me, I decided to persevere, and this is why they made me the man I am today. And that's where that failure comes in.
I want to talk about something that I think is super crucial with young men starting on a journey, or women too, anybody starting on a journey of self-discovery or fixing themselves, that there's a point where it stops, believe it or not. Like it comes down in phases. Let me break that down. And the first step is like, yeah, you got to realize like, hey, I fucking hate who I'm being or how I'm doing this. I want to change. And then you start doing research is like the next step, right? You're looking into it. And then the third step is you create that plan. And then the fourth step is you look for, it should be action. But the fourth step for most people is affirmation. I need confirmation. And and people then become scrolling. They get so lost in this, I need to know more about this. That they can get lost, like, oh, there's something wrong with me. Let me dive more into that. Oh, I need to do this. I'm not prepared yet. Oh, I didn't realize I need this as well. Let me get that. Like you spend so much time in this phase of thinking that it builds up this wall as well of you become scared to take that action. And I think we're in that place where a lot of people are comfortable. They don't want to take that action, but they want that change. And you have to jumpstart yourself. You have to hit your life, your heart, your mindset, your soul, your creativity, who you are as a human being with a defibrillator on 10 to revive life into you. I think that's so crucial, is getting out of that. Let me keep reading all these self-help books, because eventually they're all going to say the same thing in a different way. And you got to just go.
Yeah. I believe it's there's two different ways I can look at this. I call it the bar exam, but it's your beliefs, your actions, and your results.
Love it.
And so the first one is, and then you can also look at it as be, do, have. So it's like, who do I need to become? That's the first part. And I don't look at it as like, okay, am I worthy of this goal? I look at it as the goal worthy of me. And you don't fake it till you make it. You don't fake it till you make it. You live it in advance. So like, for an example, for me is before, creating financial independence, I had the mindset of like, I already am. And so that became my identity. And I think, if somebody wants, let's say they want to pursue real estate and be a top, real estate go-getter, you already, before that happens, you have to manifest that mentally and emotionally and spiritually. And so that's the becoming, right? Your identity, you have to align that. And that's where it comes in with, self-help books, your association, who you hang around, right, is vital. Your input, whatever you're feeding your brain on a daily basis, whether it's videos or watching things, you have to become that. You have to have that identity first to know, okay, this is the actions I need to take
Hmm.
to have the results. That way, when you have the results, as long as the identity's there, it's like it's not foreign to you. It's like, okay, and this was supposed to happen.
Yeah,
It's, you know what I mean? You're it's not like a big change you made because you manifested that into your life, you
exactly.
know, blowing up on, you know, going viral. It's like, no, I knew I was going to go viral. It's just not a matter of if, it was a matter of when.
I think people need to have their ego back. There is this huge thing where I killed my ego because that's like pretty much what self-help books did is they helped me kill a part of myself.
Yep.
Um, and in reality, you need that ego. The ego
Mhm.
is healthy. It's the cockiness, overconfidence, I'm better than you. That is what's
That
ugly.
ruins people. Yeah.
But if you have, oh, my ego is that I can, and I'm determined despite
Mhm.
what you say. And if I fail, that's okay. And I respect your opinion for telling me, that's humble. But to some
Yep.
people, that may be like a huge disrespect, slap in the face. Thanks, mama. Um, so I think that's one of those huge things there to really just understand is what I just said because I already forgot it.
Your ego, you have to have a healthy
Yes.
ego.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to have that ego, which is pretty much, to go back to the books I was mentioning, the first book is pretty much, hey, kill your ego,
Mhm.
right? Kill listening to the boy because that's who you think you are. When in reality, bring back the ego, learn to have fun. That's where that balance of humility, humanity, empathy comes in.
Yeah.
That I think is so crucial, that sets you up. And to add on to what you were just saying too, about when you're going to plan and you're setting everything up, one word that was sticking in my head is variables. You
Mhm.
need to not keep track, you need to account for the variables. And that's what we're talking about. Flat tires, life, shit happens.
Yep.
I think I know that when somebody's making their 3, 5, 7 year plan or just coming up with a goal, it's always, oh, this is going to happen and this is going to happen. It's going to be great. And I'm going to hit this benchmark. And in 6 months, I'm going to be a fucking millionaire. Shit.
Yeah.
When in reality, it's like, no, 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 no. You need to reverse that mindset, like, or at
Mhm.
least be, have the
Reverse
ability,
engineer.
have the ability to reverse contrast and understand both the highs and the lows and account for both. If you're winning, great, you're winning. You don't have to worry about
Yeah.
anything. But when you're down and you're getting,
So
dragged along the dirt, because that's the business. Your goals are great, but that's not what drives your business. What's
yep.
driving your business is a 2-track. There's 2 sets of tires. You have the positive plus the negative. And you
Mhm.
need to be able to make sure that those are moving in like together as a vehicle in motion. If not, you're
Yep.
going to have a really rough start. And if you don't plan at all for any variable
Yeah.
mishaps, what's going to happen is you're going to think you have just the best plan. And as soon as one thing goes wrong, which
Yeah.
it will, you give up because you're like, oh, I didn't count for this in my business. I don't know what to do. I'm overwhelmed. This is a failure. I didn't hit my first benchmark. Let me
Yeah.
stop now, because they're only looking at the gain, as you were mentioning
Right.
earlier. I'm sorry, they're only looking at the gap instead of saying, okay, the gain is both the loss and the win.
Yep. And I think it's a fantasy when people like losers only have a plan on winning. The
Mm,
winners have a plan in case they lose.
100%. And safeguards. Once they figure out, okay, I lost in this department, I'm going to get so good. I'm going to expose my weakness and exploit my weakness till it becomes not a crack in my armor, but the strongest part.
Yeah.
That's business.
Yep. Yeah, because not everything's going to go your way,
Yeah.
and the easiest example could be like, okay, let's say, you're in the gig economy, you're making extra money, but you
Hmm.
don't have a savings account put away. It's like a loser only plans on, hey, I'm just going to make all this money,
Yeah.
but like not realizing, okay, you may have to have some car maintenance. What if you have to,
Hmm.
plan for, going to the hospital if you're sick, if your kids get sick? Do you
Hmm.
have that plan in case that happens? And that's what a winner plans for. They plan on the, in case things go wrong, not always, not just everything going right.
Isn't it funny that when you look at and you plan for the things that go wrong, that makes you a winner, even though
Yeah.
you still have the things that go wrong, just like, winners and losers. The only difference is you see them and you embrace it instead of letting it
Yeah.
knock you over. That's the huge difference. Winners and losers, successful people and people who aren't successful, however you determine success, are only successful because they go through those failures.
Yeah.
They embrace them. That's the
Yeah.
only difference. And the moment you can start churning that in your head and falling in love with your failures, falling in love with your bad days, and even on your bad days, you're like, I can still find the positive, nothing's going to happen, right? Like even staying positive in the grand scheme of like, AI is probably going to take my job. Cool. Let me join AI. Let me start making those videos. Let me just
Yeah.
mess around and
Let me
start
learn
dabbling.
about it.
Yeah. Let me not be someone who's so pessimistic, but optimistic and understanding and vulnerable to the
Yeah.
situation, but don't let it control me.
And that's why I think a lot of people, whenever they get into a new, field or a new skill set, they
Yeah.
have to pay off their ignorance debt or their
Ooh.
knowledge about it. They, if you don't know how to own a business and you want to learn, well, you
Mhm.
gotta learn how cash flow works. You gotta learn the ins and outs of
Mm.
businesses. And because if you don't, you're setting yourself up to fail quick. And
Mhm.
that's that ignorance debt. You gotta come familiar with it, and that's where I fell in love with reading books earlier on in my journey
Yeah.
and learning how businesses work, and then going and building. And it's in any industry. It's you could be learning how to, like you said, boxing.
Yeah.
You need to study boxers, study professional fighters, and just learn their skills, right? And that's why one of my biggest things is I want to be a lifelong learner,
Yeah.
and I because I feel like whenever we get this mentality of like I've arrived, like I'm done
Mm.
learning,
Mhm.
I think people start to slowly die, slowly,
Yeah.
because and people think learning stops after high school, after college. I'm like, no, brother, like it just started because
Yes.
you just learned, you learned formal education, but now it's time to learn, self education, financial education, how the world works, right? And that's where it comes to being adaptable and be willing and have that growth mindset of like I'm willing to learn. Otherwise, you're gonna get hit with life real quick.
Yeah.
It's gonna force you to learn and to adapt.
Dude, I've loved this, the past 10 years out of high school, looking back and seeing, yeah, my 20s are ass. They're rough, but in retrospect, they're the best
Hmm.
because I'm glad that you know, talking with successful people, they're like, yeah, I fucked around in my 20s and my 30s and barely got my shit together in my mid 40s. And they're successful by like, their late 40s and 50s. They're like, I've only been doing
Right.
this 4 or 5 years, owning their own businesses. And I'm like, oh, sick.
Yeah.
So I'm not doing too bad because you
Yeah.
were, in college, getting absolutely wasted, failing college, when you were my age.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, if I could do it all over again, you got the right mindset, keep going. Right.
See.
And it's
Yeah,
hard to
that's
see that.
that's and that's why you have to be able to go against the grain. You gotta be the black sheep, because black sheep eventually turns into the goat. But you gotta be willing to focus on have that tunnel vision,
Yeah.
because comparison is a thief of joy. And so many
Yeah.
people compare to who's the top content creator right now in society. That's where like people start to compare with likes and posts, and
Yeah.
and just the world we live in today. And so that's why you can't, like, you got to realize that your journey is your journey for a reason. And that's what I've learned to accept, is that sometimes it might take you longer to get to a certain destination,
Mhm.
whether in life, but do you know why that is? And that's the biggest thing. And so that's why one thing I'm big on, I've realized lately, is pattern recognitions, is
Yes.
recognizing patterns in your life, in your business, in your skills, in your habits, daily routine,
Mhm.
and what are great patterns you should keep, what are patterns you should get rid of. And I think if somebody can learn how to do that effectively, well, with the growth mindset, they'll realize that no matter how long it takes, they know they're going to be successful in whatever success means to them.
Yeah, I
Um,
think I think that's very true. Success is a very subjective thing.
mhm.
I think
'Cause
it's
it
very
means different to a lot of different people. So that's
exactly.
why you have to identify what it means to you,
Yep.
because it can mean 10 different things to other people. But as long as you're rooted in what you believe and what you know is true, then that's all that matters.
And you can't be swayed by the internet too. You have to have some backbone to that. I think knowing the limitation, you have to put limitations on your success because then you've reached it when you're there, right? And I don't mean limitations like I can't do this. I mean, this is my box. This is my foundation. This is my success. I am successful when I hit these goals in 5 years, right? Whether it takes you all 5 years or takes you 6 months, you're a success. Once you have that foundation, having that limitations to know that way you don't go off and get distracted. It's important to also be kind to yourself, because you're still figuring out what that success is, and knowing that it's going to change and it can change, and being able to flow with that change, I think, is a very big thing as well, because you're going to have a set plan. This is my success. Well, over time, something's going to happen. Your personality, the way you are, is going to change. Flow with that. Lean into that. Understand that what was isn't what's going to be, and what can be may not.
It's true. Yeah, it's so good. And it reminds me of of setting goals.
Yeah.
And, there's all kinds of goals that people set, but I really believe goals are not meant to be hit. They're meant for you to be farther than you would have been if you didn't set the goal in the first place.
Love it.
So it's like, let's say your goal is to lose 10 pounds, in let's say 2 months, but you only hit 5 pounds. Well, if you didn't set that goal, you probably wouldn't have lost those 5 pounds.
Yeah.
Right. But because you set it, that's that gain. It's like, hey, yeah, I may not have hit the 10. That's living in the gap. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't hit my goal. But the gain is, dude, I just lost 5 pounds. Like, let's go. Then you keep setting new goals.
It's funny how much life can be in its most simplistic form of how you're going to have to determine whether or not someone's going to have a good life or bad life. I'm curious to see, you take people at the age of 10, put a glass of water, fill it up halfway. Is it half full or half empty? And just ask them that question, and then just track their life for the next 10 years to see how much a young person's influence and mindset one can change over the years. Get them on the same day, ask them the same question over the years. Like, I'm curious, like that would be a very interesting study.
Well, it reminds me of the marshmallow test. Have you seen that?
Yes. I have. Let me see if I got this right. You put kids in a room. Hey, don't touch this marshmallow, please. If you don't touch it, like, I don't even think they say that they're going to get something else. I think they did, right? Or how did it go?
They say, hey, and these are like toddlers.
Kids.
Yeah. So they say, hey, if you don't eat this marshmallow, we're going to be right back. If you don't eat it, when we come back, we'll give you another one.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and then they studied these kids throughout the course of their life. The kids were like, licking it, smelling it, trying to play with it. And there were some kids that just ended up eating it, but there's very few kids that waited. And the whole point of it is to test your delayed gratification, right? Your patience. And those kids who ended up not eating the marshmallow over the course of their life ended up becoming successful, because they knew that, hey, this applies to anything in life with delayed gratification versus the people that just wanted instant gratification. Yeah, it's a really cool study that they did.
Yeah, dude, patience is a virtue. There's so much to life, so many different things, and everybody's story is different. AI is fucking crazy. The world's insane, but life is beautiful. You got to keep going, embrace it. But Ryan, it has been absolutely fun. It's been a pleasure, brother. I appreciate you coming on. We'll have to do this again. Another 6 months or something. I'm enjoying our conversations, and we'll have to make it so, like, maybe next time it's in person and we block out like a much longer time, because I think we could go for a while.
Yeah, I'm totally down, man. It's been an honor. Thanks for having me here, and definitely look forward to staying connected and catching up, and just let me know when we can meet up again.
Right on, brother. All right. I'll see you next time.
All right, brother. Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.